So I wanted to talk about this real quick. There's this video going around on TikTok. I was trying to find it. I saw somebody made a reaction to it, and I was trying to find the original video so I could make a reaction to it, but I couldn't find the video. But I wanted to talk about a couple of things, a few things that she spoke about that I wanted to clear up, right? Um, so the first misconception, right? And the thing is, like, I just started reading Genesis. I just started reading the Bible again altogether, but I'm still in Genesis, so it's still fresh in my mind. So the first thing, right? God created mankind. Mankind was on Earth, right? And then God created the Garden of Eden, which is where Adam was first, and then Eve afterwards, right? The Garden of Eden is not Earth. Everywhere, like I've read, everywhere that I've looked up, the Garden of Eden is depicted as a paradise-like environment, which tells me, Jesus Christ, which tells me that Adam and Eve weren't on Earth. Adam and Eve were in paradise, right? So that's the first thing that I wanted to clear up. Now, this is from my perspective, so I'm not saying everybody has to agree with me 100%, but this is from my perspective, right? So Adam and Eve were not on Earth, which is the reason why it doesn't make sense that Adam was by himself when there were already people on Earth, right? Adam was by himself in paradise, and God made him a helpmate in Eve. That's the first misconception I wanted to clear up. The second thing that I wanted to clear up was that um, when the serpent approached Eve, it wasn't for them to eat from the tree of life. It was for them to eat from the tree of truth and knowledge, right? And then from them eating from that tree, they became aware of their bodies, right? Which means that they fell from their spiritual awakening state to what we are as human beings, so our being aware of our physical bodies, right? Which is the reason why they could no longer stay in heaven, because they were no longer um, heavenly beings. At that point in time, they became, fully mortals, which is what God meant by them dying. It wasn't that they were gonna die and then never be able to wake up again. They were gonna die from the spiritual awakening, from the awakening state that they were in. Right, where when you fully, from my understanding, right, and I'm not saying that this is something that I know for a fact, but from my understanding, when you're operating in that level, in that dimension, in that spiritual awakening, you're not aware of your physical body. You're only aware of your spiritual body, right? So from eating from the tree of truth and knowledge, they became aware of their physical bodies, which means that they became human beings, which is the reason why God had to kick them out of heaven, so that they didn't eat from the tree of life, which would have made them immortal human beings, right? That's the second piece of information that I wanted to clear up. The third piece of information that I wanted to clear up was um, from so from the snake coming through in the Garden of Eden and then tricking Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of truth and knowledge, right? God became aware of Satan's rebellious and trickery and lying ways from that act. So the rebellion that happened where, Satan and the 200 angels came down and took women for themselves or whatever you can say. That wasn't the first time Satan had rebelled against God. Right? That wasn't the first time. That was actually the second time Satan had rebelled against God. Because the first time was him tricking Adam and Eve. That was the first time. And the second time, I was eating. And the second time was, him and the Watchers coming down and taking, human wives, right? When God commanded him not to do it. So I wanted to point that out real quick. And that was another thing that she said that was very interesting, and that's something I completely disagree with. She said um, that she said that when Satan came to when the snake came to them, it was actually Satan being naked, and he had sex with both of them. Sexual immorality didn't start in heaven or in the Garden of Eden. Sexual immorality started when the angels fell to earth, right? That's when sexual immorality started, because a lot of these heavenly beings don't did not consider themselves as men, right? A lot of them consider themselves as, pretty much they could be anybody. A lot of them could shapeshift from men to women. So a lot of them were having sex with both men and women. So that's when sexual immorality started. It didn't start in heaven. Sexual immorality started when the angels that fell down to earth, took human women, and that's where the Nephilims came from. I wanted to clear these things up because I don't want people, I don't want to like it when people that are not fully aware talk about certain things and the people that don't necessarily read the Bible. Like I said, it's funny that I just started reading Genesis again because I probably wouldn't have even been able to talk about this the way I'm talking about it. And I don't like when people talk about things and they're not fully aware of those things and they're just saying whatever comes to their minds, especially when you've been drinking. That's not the best time to that's not the best time to try to have certain conversations because we already know like drinking attracts spirits and spirits can make us all these other things. I'm not gonna get into that. But yeah, I wanted to clear those things up. Adam wasn't on earth, Adam was in heaven, which is the reason why Cain when they came to earth, Cain was able to find a wife because there were already people on earth, right? They weren't the first people on earth, the first people and they were the first I can't even say people because they weren't people, but they did become human beings in heaven. So they were the first human beings in heaven, right? And they did not eat from the tree of life. They ate from the tree of truth and knowledge, which is how they descended from their spiritual awakening state to their, physical state. I hope what I'm saying is right. I think what I'm saying is right. I feel like it makes sense. Let me know what you guys think. You know what I'm saying? Comment, like, share, whatever.